Talk about those ways Shemeka, those Balu Shemeka, Lolam Wae. With Shama Bene Shra, Shabbat La Sotia, Shabbat Le Dota Mediola. Many Bene Israel, Otilola. Isha Shemri Masa, El Shaddai Wa Shamahim, where Ta'alis, Bayom Mashbi, Shabbat Wa Nafash. Baruch Shemeka, Baruch Yemeneka, Baruch Torateka, Baruch Lushateka. El Shaddai Malek, El Shaddai Malak, El Shaddai Imlok, Lolam Wae. Baruch Shem Kabol Malkutu, Lolam Wae. Baruch Kabol Lohim Min Kumo Malek Elyon. Hallelujah. First of all, I'd like to give all honor and praise to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, the great, mighty, and revered God, the Most High God, who bestows loving kindness, possesses all things, who remembers the pious deeds of the patriarchs, the Most High, slow of anger, great in kindness, forgiving iniquity and transgressions, but who will by no means clear the guilty, visiting iniquities upon the children, upon the third and fourth generation. The Most High, his work is perfect, for all his ways are justice, a God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and right and seed. You may be seated. Giving due respect and honor to a head in Israel, my father, Chief Eleazar, to the chief men, princes, brothers and sisters, mother in Israel, I say unto you the Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom Lekah.
Okay. Another day to be that God has consecrated and separated. Okay, now I have to respond on something. Last week it was something said in the chat. Okay, now we as Israelites that serve the God that hated iniquity.
Right.
I said we serve a God that despises and hates iniquity.
Right.
And when we violate the commandments of God, that is what makes God hate you and despise you, because of our ways and the things that we do that is contrary to God. God don't despise you for your color.
No.
God don't hate you for your color, because he's a God for all. Anybody can come and serve God.
That's right.
You see, I got these words. Racism was created by man for the purpose of control, to keep the people separated. That's why the lighter you are, they'll put you in the house and call you the house nigga. Huh? And then they'll put you as overseer over the slaves. Huh? To spread disunity and keep us apart. Now, it was racist. Please refrain from all racist comments.
Yeah, we don't condone
Okay?
it.
And I'm going to repeat what I said in the chat. Zacharias is my brother. Zacharias is my brother.
Me too.
The brother Prince Zachariah that come up here, that's my brother. My father raised him. His father confided in my father and came to him and said, "Thank you for raising my son."
That's right.
And he raised that boy, that man, in the laws of God, in the commandments, in the statutes of God. And as he come up here and teach, you hear the product of it.
That's right.
I said you hear the product of it. You hear the product of it. So don't formulate no erroneous ideas about the brother that comes up here. Because we serve the same God. Can't, come on now. We supposed to be elevating from this, man.
That's right.
I thought we elevated and passed this stage already. We have to realize that God put us through whatever we went through. God put us through it.
That's right.
You know why God put us through it? Because before we went into the land, God told the people, he said, listen. He said, and God warned them. He warned them. He said, listen, before you go into the land, and in order for this land not to spew you out, you need to keep these laws, commandments, and statutes. If you don't keep these laws, commandments, and statutes, the land is going to spew you out. Huh? I said the land going to turn on you, man. And that's what took place. We are a profaned people. Okay? We know what profane is? Profane means to be secular. You know what secular means? Relating to the worldly things. I said relating to the worldly things. So what does relate means? Relate means to have a connection with. Break that connection with the things that God is not connected with. If God don't agree with it, you cannot agree with it. If God don't accept it, you can't accept it. That's the only way you're going to break that connection between you and the world.
That's right.
I got a few words to say before I go into
Take your time.
my chapter.
Take your time.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 is the chapter I'm going into, right? But I got a few words. In Baruch chapter 3, it says, O Lord, Almighty God of Israel, the soul in anguish and troubled spirit cry unto thee. Hear the ways of our forefathers. There's nothing to be happy about. What are we happy about? Our soul and our spirit supposed to be in anguish and troubled. You know why? Because that is what you call the guilty conscience.
Yeah.
This man has a guilty conscience. And he is all the godly men that pursued after God kept a guilty conscience.
Right.
Why? Because by keeping this guilty conscience, it keeps them on themselves.
Yeah.
It keeps them guarding themselves. It keeps them on point with themselves.
Yeah.
Okay? Humble. Now that back to that word God. The word God, well, my brother, he said shamad. It also is the word for when it says to take heed. Shamad is also a word that's used to hearken or to obey. Huh? Okay. He said, hear, O Lord, and have mercy, for thou art merciful, and have pity upon us, because we have sinned before thee. This is why we are praying and asking God for pity and mercy. This is why we must cry out before God, because we are sinful before God. We are full of iniquity. We are full of abominations, and we refuse to refrain from our desires. Okay?
Yes.
For thou endurest forever, and we perish utterly. O Lord Almighty, thou art God of Israel. Hear now the prayer of the dead Israelites. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me the Israelites that are resting in their graves, the prayers are still has an effect on God now? You mean to tell me the dead Israelites that are in the grave are not conscious? They're conscious. They are very aware that they are dead. That's why Raquel was weeping for her children from Ramah. Huh? You think my father's in his grave a deadhead?
No.
My father right now resting in his bed, crying out before God. And that tells me one thing, that the godly men, only the godly men that sacrifice for God, those are the ones that go down to the grave and they continue to cry out to God.
That's right.
Man.
You think you know more than Baruch?
Man. I don't know more than Baruch.
He wrote with Jeremiah.
That's right.
That's a scribe with Jeremiah.
I said, and of their children. He said, oh, God, oh Lord Almighty, thou art God of Israel. Hear now the prayer of the dead Israelites and of their children, which have sinned before thee, and have not hearkened unto the voice of thee, their God, for the which cause these plagues cleaves unto us. So if he can't accept it, why we can't accept it? Why do we blame people for the things that they have done to us instead of blaming yourselves? We have to blame ourselves. This happened to us because of our shortcomings before God. That's it.
For sure.
They called us coon, rascals, and spades and niggas because we came up short with God. And God gave us up to our own heart's lust, which allowed us to be split and separated and dispersed all over the place. Because sometimes at a point in time, when we go too far in iniquity and violating the commandments of God, sometimes there's no coming back. We already sealed our fate. It's over. Now we got to go through it. Remember not the iniquities of our forefathers, but think upon thy power and thy name now at this time. For thou art the Lord our God, and thee, O Lord, we will praise. And for this cause thou hast put thy fear in thy hearts, in our hearts. You hear this, man? You hear this? God put the fear in our hearts. What weakened the fear that God gave us is when we sin presumptuously. But God created man to be upright. At a point in time in history, God created us upright. We the ones that sought out the evangelists. We the ones that sought these things out. And we cleave to the lust of our own soul. We cleave to the lust of our own heart. You cleave to your liking. To the intent that we should call upon thy name and praise thee in our captivity. For we have called to mind all the iniquity of our forefathers that sinned before thee. Wait a minute. He said, for we have called to mind, all the iniquities of our forefathers that sinned before thee. You know why? You know why they had to do that? Because we are being affected by those sins. God is remembering. Paquad means to remember, to command, to visit. He said, I will command the father's sins to rest on the son. I will visit your sins upon your son. I will command your sins to visit your son. He says, to the intent that we should call upon thy name. For we have called to mind all the iniquities of our forefathers that sinned before thee. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse. That's why we call niggas. That's why we call coons. That's why we call rascals. That's why racism existed. Because God put us here for a reproach and a curse. And to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our forefathers which departed from the Lord our God. Hear, Israel, the commandments of life. Hear, Israel, the commandments of life. Fulfilling and taking heed to these laws, commandments, and statutes gives life. Give ear to understand wisdom. How happened it, Israel? How did this go down? That thou art in thine enemy's land, that thou art waxing old in a strange country, that thou art defiled with the dead, that thou art counted with them that go down into the grave. Thou hast forsaken the fountains of wisdom. Who is the fountain of wisdom? God. God is the fountain of wisdom. And wisdom comes through the performance of the laws of God. So we have to stop receiving information from people that don't serve God and fulfill his commandments because he don't have no wisdom. He don't have no wisdom. There's no way he gonna know the right way if he's eating blood and fat, balding his head, profaning the Sabbath day, doing the things that he desires and not the things that God desire. How is he gonna have wisdom? Wisdom is a gift from God. Wisdom comes through the performance of the laws of God.
That's right.
So in order to receive wisdom of the laws of God, you had to perform it.
That's right.
For if thou hast walked in the ways of God, thou shouldst have dwellest in peace forever. You see what he said? Do we pick that up?
Forever.
He didn't say nothing about doing. He said, if you would have walked in the ways of God, I would have granted you peace. I would have granted you peace.
There's only one forever.
Okay? And there's only one forever.
Oh, my God.
And that's right. Learn where is wisdom. Huh? Where is strength? Where is understanding?
The law.
That thou mayest know also where is length of days in life.
The law.
Where is the light of the eyes in peace? Who had found out her place, or who had come into her treasures? Where are the princes of the heathens become, and such as ruled the beasts upon the earth? They that had their pastime with the fowls of the air, and they that hoarded up silver and gold, wherein men trust, and made no end of their getting. For they that wrought in silver, and were so careful, and whose work are unsearchable. Young men, well, let's cut that. Let's go to Deuteronomy 23.
Whoa.
Deuteronomy chapter 23.
Deuteronomy chapter 23.
Let's read it.
He that is wounded in the stones,
Okay.
or hath his privy member cut off,
He that is wounded in the stones, or had his privy member cut off. Huh? Go ahead.
shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord.
Shall not enter into the congregation of God. Now, where is the congregation of God? The word congregation is quahel, right? It means congregation. It means the assembly, right? And what made them the congregation of God? We had the tabernacle, as the brother pointed out to me. We had a high priest, and God was amongst us. So that's what made this the congregation of the Lord. But we have separated ourselves from God by doing the most odious things that God hates. So how can we become the congregation of God doing the things that God hates and despises? Huh? How? How can we be the congregation of God? And we read the law, and it says what it says, but we blatantly disagree with it and add our own opinion to what it is. You are the congregation of God?
And profane and corrupt.
No, we can't be the congregation of God, profaning and making. We can't, man. We can't. And in order for us to accept this, we gotta agree. We gotta muffle that thing called pride, right? And be truthful with ourselves. Be truthful with ourselves, man. We must be truthful with ourselves. Look in the mirror and tell yourselves, I have violated the commandment of God, and my spirit is bucking. My spirit is against. It ain't you.
Defying God.
It's your spirit that is defying the laws and the commandments of God. So this is why we continue to do the things that we like, that we desire above the things that God desires. We put God on the back burner to appease ourselves. Tom sheet.
Excuse me. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord.
He that is wounded in the stones, or had his privy member cut off. That's called a eunuch, right? But I read in Isaiah 56, right? In Isaiah 56, right? You stay where you at, Chief Mikhail. Isaiah 56, right? This is what it says. And will show you how much power the Shabbat holds from not profaning the day, right? It says, thus saith the Lord, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this. I said, blessed is the man that doeth this, and the son of man that lay hold on it, and keep it the Sabbath from polluting it. But we don't know how to keep the Shabbat. We don't know how to keep the Shabbat from making it common to the rest of the 6 days, because the book shows us what not to do. So the time when God rained manna, he gave the people a command or order to gather double omer on the 6th day, because on the 7th day, you're not going to find it in the field.
Prepare that what you're going to prepare.
Okay? So on the 7th day, you still had Israelites that will go into the field and gather. They went out there looking for manna. God looked at Moses and said, how long these people going to continue to tempt me? There was a man that went out to gather to gathering sticks. They took them and they killed them. He didn't kindle no fire. So the action of gathering is work. I said the action of gathering is work.
That's right.
And Jeremiah 17 states that you should not exit your house with a burden. A burden is anything that is carried. It doesn't depict the load or how heavy it is. So when I walk out my house, I don't have nothing in my hand. Nothing is in my hand. I'm free-handed. You can't give me nothing outside of my doors. Why? Because I'm not going to grab it, because I put God first. I put the laws and the commandments of God first, regardless of who I'm dealing with.
That's right.
I'm not touching nothing.
That's right.
I was out of camp one time. The brother looked at me and asked me to help him put the chairs back inside. I said, not me, brother. I said, these chairs shouldn't have been outside the camp anyway.
First of all, you're a chief man.
I said, these can't. Well, I told him that afterwards.
Yeah.
I said, these chairs should have been outside the camp anyway.
That's right.
That's
You can't
okay.
Stuff out the camp.
That's number one. Then after I told him, I said, I'm a chief man.
That's a violation. You know that.
You ain't gonna ask your leader to do that.
That's right.
Okay.
You ain't gonna ask your leader to pull up these chairs.
That's right.
No, you're gonna find you a layman or somebody that you can get.
Yeah.
I'm not no layman,
You're also a leader.
because I'm also a head and the leader.
That's right.
That's correct.
That's right.
Look at him.
No shmo.
He said, blessed the man that doeth this, and the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil.
That's right.
We wasn't choosy of what we could do and what we can do. Or I will do this, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
Or I'll do this over here, but I won't do this. That's our problem.
Any evil.
Any evil. Okay? Not let the son of the stranger, right, that had joined himself to the Lord, speak, saying, the Lord had utterly separated me from his people. Wait a minute, man.
Don't let him say that.
Wait a minute. You see what it says about the stranger?
Yeah.
Or about people that don't look like you? Let's put that better. I ain't gonna say strangers. This is about people that don't look the same like you. You got somebody that come in here with a purple complexion, with slanted eyes, and an eye slant this way. Two slanted eyes. One going across, one going that way. God said, don't allow him to feel that he has been separated from God's people, which means you can do and say things that will cause that person to feel like the sore thumb. These are the ways of God. We cannot allow people to feel out of place. How many times we got to continue to say this over and over, but we continue to have racist Israelites? Have you ever thought about that you may not be an Israelite too? I don't care how black you is, because the first world was black. The 7 nations was black.
Right.
Huh? We was the last nation established.
That's right.
So how you gonna look at somebody's color and tell them that they're a stranger?
That's right.
Or they're not God's people? But we're gonna get into a verse, and I'm into that chapter. Do we realize that Esau, King David, King Solomon was a the same complexion.
Okay.
I said Esau, King David, and King Solomon was of the same complexion.
Okay.
And we're going to go into the scripture. We're going to go into the book. And I'm going to prove to you with the book that these three men had the same complexion.
That's right.
So continue to be racist of people against people's complexion. Well, let's go back to Deuteronomy 23. You got it?
Got it.
Let's read it.
Verse 3.
Verse 2.
2.
Uh-huh.
A bastard shall not enter into the congregation.
What is
of
a
the Lord.
bastard? Huh? I said, what is a bastard? Do we know what a bastard is? That's called a mamzer. A mamzer or bastard is an illegitimate child, spurious. You know what spurious is?
Teach us.
Spurious is, it means born of parents not married.
Out of wedlock.
When you have a children out of wedlock, that child is a bastard. Okay? Now, we didn't have marriage ceremonies because marriage ceremony stems from Rome. That was a custom in Rome. Because during the marriage ceremony, you know what the ceremony was?
Yeah.
Before you cohabitate with your wife,
Yeah,
the emperor penetrate the man,
and
the woman, and their animals.
the horse.
That was the marriage ceremony. We didn't have marriage ceremonies. The only paperwork we had was divorce papers. That's why God said break the connection. How we break the connection? You stop having sex with her.
Uh-oh.
You pull back. But if you got a wife, God said God gave us a year to rejoice with your wife.
Uh-oh.
So you got to give her time. That's what God said. I got to give my woman some time. I got to give her time. Even God got a heart.
That's right.
God ain't going to call you no henpeck going to spend time with your wife.
No.
What? You won.
You all one.
That's right.
And her desire is supposed to be towards me.
That's right.
And if she asking me for time, then I have to consider that and say, all right, babe. I said, let me go set some things up when we give you some time.
Yeah.
That's right.
Huh? No, I want to hear that, sister. I wanna hear that. Good, come on, sister. Keep that to yourself, sister. Where your hose with that guy? Your hose with that. Pop in the chat, please.
He said, "Pop in the chat."
Illegitimate. You know what illegitimate is? Not in accordance with accepted standards or rules. That's what. Not in accordance with accepted standards or rules. So what are the rules and the standards that God has set?
Uh-oh.
If I want your daughter, I have to go to the father.
Present myself to the Father.
I have to present myself to the father. If I want your daughter, I gotta have somewhere to put her.
Uh-oh.
If I want your daughter, I gotta have a job, and not just any job, working as a cashier register.
You gotta take care.
Because you can't take care of no woman in the house working as a cashier. You need benefits. You need income. You got to be able to set that woman up so that when you go, she's set up.
Sure.
She don't have no worries. She is set up.
That's right. That's right.
But we don't do that. You got brothers that don't got nothing to give. High water to cry away, and you looking for two wives.
You want a lot. You want a lot.
Not sanctioned by law. An illegitimate child is a child born from adultery. An illegitimate child is a child born from incest, rape, whoredom. And we have so much of them today. You know why we have those today? Yeah, we got bastards today. Because Israelites play games with the marriage law.
Uh-huh.
I said we have Israelites today that play games with the Hebrew woman of today. They just want to have sex. Well, if you want to If you still have that mind frame, leave the daughters of Zion alone
Right.
and go find you a heathen.
Right.
Go find you a heathen and deal with them.
That's right.
Tom Sheep.
Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord.
Okay.
Verse 3, an Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord.
This is a prime example of the Most High makes exceptions for those who make exceptions for his laws.
Right.
Right.
I said God will make exceptions for those that have made exceptions for his laws, his commandments, his statutes. This is why Uriah the Hittite was accepted. Ruth, the Moabitess, was accepted. And I can run down a whole lot of men from other nations that was accepted by God because they made exceptions for the laws and the commandments of God. So does that show you that God is racist?
No.
Which means all you got to do is agree with God.
That's right.
All you got to do is accept his laws and he will accept you.
That's right.
He will accept you, man. So now, Moab and Ammon shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to his 10th generation. Brothers told me the reason why God said that about Moab and Ammon because they was incest babies. But I didn't read that there.
No.
I said I didn't read that there. So we got to realize something. God gave us the format.
That's right.
Whatever is not in the format, we have to stop putting it
Don't
there.
add to it.
We got to stop adding on to what God says. Because when we add on and take away from what God says, it will not be accepted.
That's right.
Add on, you take
You
it.
cannot, God is not going to accept it that way.
That's right.
Tom Sheep.
Even to their 10th generation
Uh-huh.
shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever,
Uh-huh.
because they
Because
met
what?
you not with bread. and
Wait
with
a
water
minute.
in the way.
Because they met you not with bread.
That's the reason why.
Wait a minute. Well, you know what? The word for met is quadam.
Uh-huh.
It means to meet. It means to welcome.
Uh-oh.
Huh? It means to be cordial. Huh? It means courtesy.
Wow.
None of that.
And these are all treatments.
That's right. How you treat people.
That is the ways of God. This is how you treat people when people come. Come on, man.
That's right.
So now we have to watch how we treat people, because if we treat people nasty in a nasty, despicable way, we turn God against us just because of how I treated you.
Okay.
So now we're going to dig into these words because we also have violated these laws.
Yeah.
Okay? See, these laws teaches us to change our ways.
That's right.
The laws of God teaches us how we need to be accepted of him.
That's right.
If we don't follow these laws, then we can't be accepted by God, because there's only one way to be accepted by God.
Understand.
We have to take heed to these laws, and we have to take heed to his ways. So what is the welcome? To greet hospitably and with courtesy or cordiality. So we're going to go in through these words. Hospitably. Hospitality. Example. Hospitality was more important than his own daughter,
That's right. In his own house.
than his own house.
That's right.
Do we know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Judges 19.
Levites.
Okay? There was a Levite.
Yes.
There was a Levite that had a wife. Right? He said it was his concubine.
Right.
Okay? It wasn't his wife. She left 4 months to go visit her father.
Uh-huh.
In the Hebrew, it says he went towards his woman to speak to her according to her heart.
Yeah.
You know what that means? To speak to her according to her heart, which means, and I have to understand this too, because these lessons are for me.
Me too.
I have to learn, we have to learn that there's a time that we have to separate certain things and speak to your woman according to how she feels, being able to understand where she's coming from in her space.
Right.
Put yourself in her space and understand where she's coming from so I can understand and give her the things that she needs to be comforted.
Nice.
Because this ain't no macho thing.
Right.
To be stepping up, oh, I'm the man.
Right.
Shut up. No, man.
Yeah.
No, that's not the way. So when I speak for myself too. And I speak for others. That's what now the man went to go speak to his woman according to how she feels. According to how she feels. Right? So fast forward. The man took him in. When the old man took him in, some Benjamites surrounded the house. Banged on the house ferociously.
Yeah.
They want the man to come out so that they can penetrate him. You know what the man did? He took his daughter and gave his daughter so that they can ravish instead of the man because he came underneath his roof. Do we understand that? We don't understand that. We don't understand that. We still disagree with it. Huh. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Cordiality. Cordiality is being friendly and polite to give comfort. To invigorate. To give strength to by the use of words. I can strengthen you with just my words. I can comfort you with just my words. Sometimes I can assure you with just my words. Sometimes this is not the right time to say or voice certain things.
Yeah.
It's right and you're correct, but sometimes it's not the time to voice it. Cordial is used to describe people and their behavior towards others in social situations. Courtesy, being polite in one's attitude and behavior towards others. Tom Sheik.
Because they met you not with bread and with water in the way.
Because they didn't meet you with bread and water in the way.
When they came forth out of Egypt. And because they hired against thee Balaam, the son of Beor, people of
Balaam, the son of Beor, people, read.
To curse thee.
To curse thee.
Nevertheless, the Lord thy God would not hearken unto Balaam, but the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loved thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace.
Thou shalt not seek their peace.
Nor their prosperity.
Nor their prosperity.
All thy days forever.
All thy days forever. Tom Sheik.
Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite.
Because what?
For he is thy brother.
Wait, read that again.
Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. For he is thy brother.
No, because he's a stranger.
For
he's
he is
an alien.
thy brother.
He's an alien.
For he is thy brother.
He's a stranger.
For he is thy brother.
Because he's your brother.
Twin brother of Jacob.
God said don't hate him. He said because he's your brother. Okay? So now let's go into the word of Edomite. The Hebrew word for Edomite is Admoni. It means ruddy, red-haired, reddish. Ruddy means reddish brown complexion. I don't see nowhere where it says white. See, we got to realize Edom looked like us.
Yes.
Right.
Noah had 3 sons. Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Shem migrated into the Asia continent. Ham went into Africa. Japheth went into Europe. And they, after hundreds and thousands of years, they lost their melanin and their hair got thin. So that's the Japhites. Those are our people also. Okay? So now, Edom, is admoni, right? Now, I'm going to give you an example. Stay where you at. 1 Samuel chapter 16, right? 1 Samuel chapter 16. So now we're going to fast forward everything. At this point in time, Saul has been rejected of God because he did not hearken to the commandments of God.
That's right.
And because of that, this evil spirit has clung to him, has been a part of him. Okay? Now, even though the evil spirit is in him, he still was keeping the commandments of God.
Yes. Yes.
You having the evil spirit does not stop you from keeping God's laws.
That's right.
You could be sitting down in teachings, wearing your robe, putting on your fringes, doing the things that you know to be lawful and right. But you still will have the evil spirit. How do I know? King Saul had it. He stopped the people from eating blood with the evil spirit upon him. Okay? But the difference is that King Saul was able to detect it. King Saul was able to detect that he had this evil spirit. He knew what to look for.
Yeah.
So therefore, he went and called for David to play the harp so that evil spirit can depart.
That's right.
Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work. That's when you picked up that javelin and tossed it at him. Okay? So now Samuel is going to anoint a king out the house of Jesse. All right? So the first one, and it came to pass when they were come, that he looked on Eliab, who was the firstborn, and said, surely the Lord's anointing is before him. That's a regular thing to do. Yeah. You're not going to jump from the firstborn and go to the thirdborn or the fourthborn. It's a natural thing. God had to step in. All right? But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on his height of his stature, because I have refused him, because I have rejected them. I have not accepted him or considered him. He said, for the Lord see it not as man see it. God don't, what you look for, God don't look for.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay? You can't see what God is looking for because God look at the unseen. God look at things that man can't see. That is what is inside of you.
Yeah.
What do you have in you?
That's right.
What are the qualities and the characteristics and the attributes that you have in you for me to exalt you as a king?
Right.
There's qualities that God looked for. He said, for man looking at the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Then Jesse called all his sons, right? He called on them. It says one more, right? And he said, there remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep.
Okay.
That's a lesson in itself. Eliab wasn't keeping the sheep.
Okay.
I'm the oldest. What am I doing keeping the sheep? I did that already. The job gets passed down after a certain amount of time. Now it's time for the youngest to keep the sheep. The oldest shouldn't be keeping the sheep. And the youngest didn't complain because he looked at it as an honor to keep the sheep for his father. So that's a lesson in itself. It is an honor for me to go in that kitchen and wash my mother's dishes. It's an honor for me to wipe these, clean the floors and mop the floor for her and do the things that she desires and loves in life.
Yeah. Go inside and sit down, Mom. Yeah.
It's an honor.
Put in that work. Put in that work.
But we try to put the work in, and our mother look at it and say, look. My mother look at me, I'll try to say, listen, leave me alone. She want to do everything herself. But that's good though. It keeps her, see, that's good though. But she knows she got the help. She knows she got her sons here to help her. She knows that. And regardless of what she needs, she got it. but that's also exercise for her.
That's
She got to
right.
do that because
That's
she don't
right.
go outside. So it's good for her to move around, do things. You know what I mean? That's exercise for her. So now, right? Verse 12. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 12. And he said and brought him in. Now he was ruddy. It says King David was ruddy. You know what the word for ruddy is? Admoni. Wait a minute. That's the same complex. That's the same word that's used to describe Esau. Okay? The same word. So now let's go to Song of Solomon, chapter 5.
Roll on.
Okay? Song of Solomon, chapter 5.
What was that with David?
First, I was with David was 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 12. Now we go into Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse, was it? Verse 10? Yes. Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 10. It says, my beloved. You know who's saying this? His wife. And if I'm stand to be corrected, that's a term that only women used towards their men. Is that?
God called Abraham.
Of course, it's beloved.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's
Solomon.
right. Right. It says, my beloved is white and ruddy. You hear that? This is what his wife is saying about his complexion. He said, my beloved is white and ruddy. Okay? Dodi, Zak, we Adom. Zak is clear or bright. Adom, Admoni means ruddy. So Esau, King David, and King Solomon had the same complexion. That goes to tell you that God was never racist against color.
That's right.
And they're all the seed of Jacob.
And they're all the seed of Jacob. Regardless of what we say, we are all the seed of one man.
That's right.
See, check this out.
Adam.
Go back to Deuteronomy 23. Genesis, which means what? Bereshit. In the beginning. It's about God creating everything. Where it came from and how long ago it happened. Okay? All human beings descend from two people. Adam and Eve. 1,600 years after was a global flood.
That's right.
Only 8 people survived. Who was Noah and his family. Few generations after was the building of the Tower of Babel. And God had scattered and confused their language. And when God scattered them and confused them, they all departed to wherever location they departed and scattered to. And they took sun worship with them. This is why all religion stems and come from sun worship.
That's right. Oh, do you
Listen,
research?
at the Tower of Babel, beginning with Nimrod, is the beginning of Christianity.
Wow.
That was the beginning of Christianity.
That's where the story's from.
That's where the story comes from. Okay? Tower of Babel is in the middle of all people migrated from that location. Where do race come from? Science proved that your child inherits 50% of the DNA of each of your parents. Means you have 12.5% from your grandparents, 6.25% from your great-grandparents, and the percentage get less and less as you go back. This is why God was against mingling the holy seed, because we pollute it. It gets watered down. Nothing is in its pure form right now. Us calling ourselves and surnaming ourselves after Israel, we are not in our pure form. We're not the pure seed of Israel, but God knows his people. And we're going to cling towards our liking, towards what we desire, towards who we are.
Right.
He said, like spirits attract. Water seeks its level. Pigeons fly with pigeons. Birds of a feather flock together. Why you continue to hang with him? If you don't think like him. If you ain't walk like him and we don't have the same mentality and we ain't walking the same way, why do you continue to walk with him?
Okay, because the generation, you get less DNA from your ancestors. The conflict of race has no genetic basis, but the genes that explain the phenotypic, the way things look, the difference between population only represents a tiny part of our genes, confirming that the concept of race from a genetic standpoint is abolished. DNA technology proves that there aren't much differences from people across the world.
There's only 3.
That's right. Adam and Eve was not white. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
That's right. That's right. That skin color is a mutation, a broken gene that can't produce melanin. If people are so different, you wouldn't be able to have organ transplant. There were 2 guys.
Yeah.
One black and one white.
That's right.
One needed a kidney transplant. They got tested and they found a match.
Right.
They found a match between the 2.
Okay.
They had 2 different parents.
Okay.
2 different parents, but they found a match between this black man and that white man. Explain that one.
Go back far enough, we got the same parents.
Come on, man. And if you go back far enough, we had the same parents who was Adam and Eve.
Wake up, Jacob.
Come on, man. Let's leave off from this racist foolishness and serve God, man. That's what counts. Let's serve God. Tom Sheep.
Thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all thy days forever.
Thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity forever. What verse you at?
7.
7? Go ahead.
Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite,
Go to verse 8.
for he is thy brother.
No, okay. Hold on, brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land.
Yeah.
We hearing this, man? Know what that means? Regardless of what the Egyptians did to us, God said, don't hate them. And it's the same point of view now. You have been scattered all over the place, and we are in a land that's not ours. We are living in these people's land. So if God said, don't hate the Egyptian because you was a stranger in his land, then what makes you think it's okay for us to hate the people that housed us and put us here?
Okay.
Because they're taking care of us.
Okay.
They're feeding us.
Yeah.
They're taking care of us.
Yeah.
That's what God is saying.
That's right.
Regardless of what the Egyptians did,
Yeah.
he said, don't hate them. He said, because the one thing we need to realize and recognize is that you lived in their land. They have accepted you in their land from the beginning of times, before slavery.
God did.
Before slavery.
That's right.
When Jacob and Joseph and his sons and his brothers and their children lived in Egypt, what do you think God is talking about? He's talking about that time when the Egyptians accepted
Right.
Jacob into his land.
He gave him the land of Goshen.
Huh? And gave him a land in Egypt to live at.
Fruitful land.
So because of that, God said, don't hate the Egyptians. That reminds me of a man that comes and live with you, and you hate the man that accepted you in his house.
Okay.
You despise the man that have accepted you in his house. You got so much to say, derogatory statements and negativity to say about a man that accepted you in his house. See, these are all the ways of God. God teaches us how we should be and how we shouldn't be. Because if we continue the way we are, the way we is today, we can't be accepted that way. You're not going to be elevated in the laws of God. Man. God's not going to elevate us. Tom Shee.
Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. Verse 8. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord in their third generation.
Tom Shee.
When the host goeth forth against thine enemies.
When the host go forth against thine enemies,
then keep thee from every wicked thing.
Keep thee from every wicked thing. Dabara. An evil thing. Keep thee from an evil thing. Keep thee from evil matters. Keep thee from evil words. We have to be circumspect and be be choosy with the words that we use. That is not godly. Okay? The word thing. What is a thing? Right? When you look up the definition of thing, it says a situation. Keep thee from an evil situation or evil acts. Okay? Go ahead. Go ahead. Prince Zach, you got it? Yeah. Oh, go ahead, my bad. I got it. All right.
The host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every wicked thing. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness, that chanceth him by night, then shall he go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. But it shall. Said,
if there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness, that chanceth him by night. What causes you to be unclean? What causes you to be unclean? The semen, the seed of copulation. Right. And when that semen leaves you, you become unclean. Right. Whatever the semen touches becomes unclean. Okay? So now, then it says, go on to say, then shall he go abroad out of the camp, he shall not come within the camp. Why? He can't come within the camp. Because just because of my presence alone, I'm going to profane everything. Right. Everything in the camp is holy. I said, everything in the camp is holy. Yeah. So I had to separate myself from the camp. Yeah. Everything in here is not holy. Right. Okay? So when I have a nocturnal emission, I may go on the I go in the shower and I can still come to teachings. Yes. Don't touch. If a person is practicing or doing the cleanliness law, don't touch him, because if I come in skin contact with him, he becomes unclean.
Don't touch nobody.
Now, in Leviticus chapter 23, it states not to come in skin contact with the person that is unclean by nocturnal emission. But people say that it's for the priests. This was the law directing it towards the priests.
Yeah. It's letting you know how uncleanness is transmitted.
It's still letting you know how uncleanness is transmitted.
And the priest ain't gonna be there.
Okay? And this, people come up with so much ideas and opinions just to get around what the book says.
They don't believe it.
Tom Sheik.
But thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. For the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp to deliver thee, and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy. Okay. That he see no unclean thing in thee.
They see no unclean thing in thee.
And turn away from thee.
What verse you at?
15.
Okay.
Thou shalt not deliver unto...
Hold up. Let me go back to 14. For the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp, to deliver thee and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, that he see no unclean thing in thee. The word in thee is bekah. It means in thee, by thee, And when it's by you, you're going to start going in the direction of sin. You're going to start going in a way that's not acceptable by God, because everything is it's a domino effect. It has an effect on your spirit. Okay? Tom C.
Thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master.
Thou shalt not deliver unto who? Unto his master, the servant that has escaped from his master. Unto thee. So, when the servant has escaped from his master, you can't just deliver him back. I have to find out what took place, why he ran. The man probably ran from his master because he was being treated because of treatment. That's right. And then you go and return him back in. He came to me for help. God said, the law is for me to take him in. Take that man in.
make sure he's comfortable. Let him choose where he needs to be, where he wants to be at. He ain't gonna choose my bed. Not my bed. Wisdom tell you not to choose my room. This is my room, brother. You choose anywhere else except for here.
Anywhere in the city.
Go ahead.
He shall dwell with thee,
He shall dwell with thee, even among thee.
in that place which he shall choose in one of thy gates.
In that place where thou shalt choose in one of thy gates. Now we getting deeper now. It ain't talking about the man's tent. He said somewhere within your gates. The only thing that had gates is a city. So when this man is running from his master and come to the city gates to come into the city. So now I'm asking myself, is this an Israelite? Or is this a foreigner? Because the Israelites lived within the gates. Why is this guy running, coming to the gates to come in? Right.
Ran from one city to that.
Ran from one city. It could have been another Israelite that's living outside of Jerusalem. We don't know. And we had other cities too.
He was a servant.
Yeah, but he was a servant. That's the key. He was a servant. Right. Go ahead.
There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel.
Now, it says, thou shalt not oppress him. You know what oppression is? Are we aware that we oppress each other? Okay?
Real easy.
The word oppress is yana. It means to keep in subservience and hardship.
Keep them under you.
To keep them under you.
Affliction.
Huh? Right. See, oppression is a treatment, man.
Yeah.
Now, you know what else is oppression? Because the person that you're oppressing is a subservient person, right? And he has the willingness to obey and to do according to whatever you ask. Now, because this person is submissive and he will do it, you got to be considerate and say no. Imagine the brother just going out to the store. I got to consider and say, no, I'm not going to send him back to the store because I don't know if he feel like going back. I have to consider him and how he feels. So therefore, nah, I'm not acting. You just came from the store. I see my father did that. Nah, Mick, you ain't got to go, Mick. You just came from out there. Hey, Shama, what you doing over there? Get over here, man. Yo, go out here and go do this for me. We got to consider each other's feelings, man. You got to. Because if we don't consider each other, you can't serve God. That's right. Gotta have a heart, man. And the price of a heart is what?
Pride.
Get rid of pride. Time sheet.
There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel.
There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel. So all the whores that Israelites went to was not of Israelite daughters. They were not Israelite daughters. They were of other nativity. Okay? Now, in the Hebrew, it says Quadesha. Okay? What is Quadesha? What is Quadesh? Quadesha are temple prostitutes or harlots. Right? Okay? Harlots was a custom in ancient Babylon that all women once in their lives to go to a temple of Aphrodite and have sex with strangers. Okay? It also goes, you know what whoredom or Quadesha is male sodomite, temple prostitutes, male sodomites. Coital. Coital is sexual intercourse. Okay? For the purpose of having babies. Going in the natural way. When you have oral sex and anal sex, that is non-coital. Okay? That's non-coital. We can't do oral sex. We can't do anal sex. Those actions, those things are done in the worship of Baal Peor. Okay? Those things are in worship of Baal Peor. That's what's incorporated in the worship of these foreign gods, of these idol gods. Go ahead, Tom Sheet.
Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow.
He said, thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore. When a woman go and sell her body for money, you cannot use that money to buy, to go to use for sacrifice. Okay? Or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow. But even both these are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Tamshi.
Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother.
Uh-huh.
Usury of money.
Usury of money.
Usury of victuals.
Usury of victuals.
Usury of anything that is lent upon usury.
Okay, Tamshi.
Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury.
Okay, let's get into that now. He said, thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother. Right? Okay? Usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Then it goes to say, unto a stranger. Right? Thou shalt lend upon usury. The word stranger is a gear, but it's not talking about the gear. It ain't talking about the stranger that dwells amongst us. Okay? Because God said to treat the stranger the same as the homeborn. You cannot do usury and give interest to the stranger. So the Hebrew word for stranger is nakri, which means the foreigner, the alien, the one that is of other nations that are not Israel. Okay? So now if you want to go deeper,
let's go deeper.
Abraham didn't give usury to nobody.
That's right. That's right.
It's not, you're not breaking law if you give usury.
Right.
But Abraham took it a step higher and didn't give usury or do usury to nobody. He dealt with everybody just. Okay? Tom sheet.
But unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to in the land whither thou goest to possess it. Verse 21.
Verse 21.
When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not slack to pay it. But the Lord thy God.
Let's cut that. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 1. Got it?
Isaiah chapter 1.
Isaiah chapter 1.
The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Hear, O heavens,
hear, O heavens,
and give ear, O earth.
And give ear, O earth.
For the Lord has spoken.
For the Lord has spoken.
I have nourished and brought up children.
To nourish means to raise. I have nourished and brought up children. I have trained. I have raised up children.
And they have rebelled against me.
Rebelled against me. You know what that is? Sounds like a parent that did all they could do with this child, and the child still turned on them. And there come a point in time when the parent look and say, you know what? I have did everything I needed to do as a parent. It's out of my hands. Now you got to learn on your own. And that's what took place with God. He left us to ourselves. Washed his hands with us. Why? Because he trained us and showed us the way to go. But we chose otherwise. Okay, go ahead.
The ox knoweth his owner.
He said the ox knoweth his owner.
And the ass his master's crib.
The ox knoweth his owner. Yada. It means to be aware of through observation, inquiry, or information. All right, go ahead.
And the ass is master's crib.
And the ass is master's trough. The trough is where the animals eat at. Tom Sheep.
But Israel doth not know.
Israel does not know. My people does not consider. The word for consider is bonan. All right? Come from the word. It also means to understand. And to understand is to depart from evil. So, if you don't consider or reflect on yourself, then you will not depart from the things that God hate and despise. The only way we can depart from the things that God hates, I have to consider myself. I have to reflect on self in order to acknowledge the things that is against God. We have to consider and reflect on self. Okay? To reflect means to think carefully about before you make a decision. We don't think before we do. We don't think before we speak. We do and we speak, and then after we say, oh, I was wrong. But we should have thought about, who am I going to affect by doing or saying this? Should I do or say this? How would that person feel if I do or say this? See, these are all things that we have to think about and stop being selfish and only thinking about self. So you hold back certain words and hold back certain things because I don't want to offend you and I don't want you to feel no type of way. Right. To discern, to reflect, to discern means to perceive or recognize something, to distinguish between. Go ahead, read.
Well, Israel does not know, but people does not consider.
People do not consider.
Verse 4. Sinful nation.
Sinful nation. The word for sinful nation is kata. It means sinful. It also means faulty. He said, faulty nation. Faulty nation. Now, faulty means to incur guilt upon. To incur guilt upon. Incur means to subject to through your actions. We have been subject to iniquities because of our actions that is against God. We have been subjected. Now we are subjected to do the things that is contrary to God. This is why we continue to do the things that God hates, even though we read it in the book. But there's no way that we don't have the strength to hold and rule our spirit to pull ourselves back because we have been weakened. We weaken ourselves by the things that we do with the works of our own hands. So faulty means what? Blemish, defect, right? A blemish is an imperfection that impairs. And then anything that impairs, it weakens you. That's sin. He said, sinful nation.
A people laden with iniquity.
A people that is laden with iniquity. The word for laden is kabed. A people that glories in iniquity. The word glory means what? Common consent. Consent means to be in accordance, in opinion, all right? To give approval to agree to. We got to watch what we agree with. We got to watch what we, are people that glory in iniquity, we got to watch what we speak good about. We got to watch what we agree with. We got to watch what we approve. Because the things that you agree with, the things that you approve, God don't approve of it. And that's when God said you glory in the things that I hate in. I hate these things and you glory in it. Why? Because I agree with it. You glory in iniquity. Iniquity is sin. Right? Iniquity is an immoral or grossly unfair behavior. So that's what iniquity is. It has a lot to do with your morals. All right? Sin is a vitiated state of human nature, which has become our nature from the beginning of time. When Adam ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the nature of the people now is sin. That's our nature. Okay? In which the self becomes estranged from God. By us violating the commandments of God, we have caused